Listen and practice. Well, on weekdays I get up at 6:45. I have breakfast at 7 o'clock, and I go to school at 7:30. I have lunch at school with my friends, that's at 12:15. It's early in our school. I leave school at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I walk home with my friends. I get home at 3:30, have soda, maybe pizza, and watch television. I go to bed at 11 o'clock on weekdays, but later on the weekend, of course. Listen and practice. My name is Mike. I'm from the US, but I moved to Hungary 2 years ago. I left home because I got a job in Budapest. I teach science at a university. 6 months ago, I met a beautiful woman named Maria. Maria grew up in Budapest, but she went to college in the States. It was very surprising to meet someone who spoke my language so well. We began to go out, and we fell in love. 2 weeks ago, on a Saturday night, I asked Maria to marry me. She was surprised, but she said yes. Now we are engaged. 2 years ago, I came to Hungary for a job. Now I'm staying because I met Maria. Isn't life interesting? Listen and practice. Perry and Lily are brother and sister. They are from the same family, but they are very different. Perry likes reading books, but he doesn't like watching TV. Lily watches TV every night, but she doesn't like reading books. She reads the newspaper. Perry likes Chinese food, and he drinks a lot of coffee. Lily drinks tea, and she doesn't like Chinese food. She eats a lot of Mexican food. Perry likes listening to classical music. Lily listens to jazz. She likes playing jazz piano. Perry and Lily are very different, but they feel the same about one thing. They're happy to be brother and sister. Listen and practice. Phil Johnson is 23 years old. He's a bus driver and a student. He's very busy on weekdays. He gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning and goes to work at 6:30. He usually has breakfast in the car. He works all day. He always has lunch from 12 to 12:30 in the afternoon. He usually buys a sandwich in the center of town. He leaves work at 4 in the afternoon and goes to school. He has school from 5 to 8 p.m. He gets home at 8:30 in the evening, and then he has dinner and does homework. He goes to bed at 11. Listen and practice. People have very different ideas for their dream home, their perfect house or apartment. Some people dream of a simple house in a special place. Others want a large house with every convenience. Henry David Thoreau, an American writer, lived from 1817 to 1862. At the age of 28, he built his perfect house. It was a very small house, just 10 feet by 15 feet, 3 meters by 4.5 meters. Inside, there were just 3 chairs, a bed, a table, and a small desk. The location of his house was very important to Thoreau. He built his house in the woods, close to a beautiful lake. Listen and practice. Dikembe Mutombo, a professional basketball player, built a very different type of dream home. Mutombo grew up in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but he moved to the United States to study. He wanted to be a doctor, but instead he became a famous basketball player. Mutombo's dream home is in the Congo, and it has beds for 150 people. It also has an emergency room, many exam rooms, and some beautiful gardens. Mutombo didn't build his dream home for himself. Instead, he built it for the people in his native country. Mutombo's dream home is a hospital. Listen and practice. I used to live in a nice apartment downtown in a pretty interesting neighborhood. But the thing was, they wouldn't let you keep a pet. I really wanted to get a cat, so I moved to a place where you could keep pets. Now I live in a building near the park, and there's two of us, me and my cat, Felix. We play all the time, listen and practice. We used to have a nice apartment downtown. It had great views of the city, but then these new people moved in upstairs. They played loud music all the time, and the sound came straight through the ceiling and into our apartment. It was terrible, so we moved. Now we're living in a nice small house in the suburbs, and our neighbors are very quiet. Listen and practice. My new apartment is on a high floor, and it's great. There's no noise at all. I only hear the birds in the park. Before that, I lived in the first floor apartment. It had a little yard, which was nice, but I heard people coming and going all the time, and it was close to the street, so I heard all the traffic too. Listen and practice. We didn't really want to move because we loved our apartment. We had a wonderful landlady too. She didn't raise the rent for years, and if anything was broken, she would get it fixed really fast. But with the children getting older, we needed to be closer to a good school, so that's why we moved. Now, we live in an apartment in the suburbs. Listen and practice. My new apartment has a huge kitchen and a great stove. I'm really happy about it. I love to cook and have parties, but the kitchen in my old place was so tiny, and the dining room was small too. The location was good, but I could never have people over for dinner, so I needed to find something different. Listen and practice. It's a great place to stay. The atmosphere is so glamorous and exciting. There are bright lights at the front door, and people always arrive in really expensive cars. The rooms are really beautiful too. Of course, it's not the cheapest hotel in Miami, but it's definitely the best. Listen and practice. I'm reading a story about a parrot that saved two people's lives. A man and his son fell asleep on the couch watching a movie. While they were sleeping, their house caught on fire. They woke up suddenly when they heard their parrot imitating a smoke alarm. Apparently, their smoke alarm did go off, but it wasn't loud enough to wake them up. Listen and practice. Wow! Did you hear about the twin sisters that were separated at birth? They were adopted by different families when they were babies and grew up in different cities, but after high school, they both attended the same college. They figured out they were twins. They were even in the same class. Listen and practice. Earth's crust. Earth is round like an orange. Oranges have a skin, and Earth has a skin too. We call this skin Earth's crust. Under the crust, there is very hot rock. Earth's crust has different pieces. These pieces move very, very slowly. Millions of years ago, the pieces moved and made mountains. Under mountains, the crust is thick, but under the ocean, it's thinner. When two pieces of the crust move and meet, there can be earthquakes. Listen and practice. A volcano is a hole in Earth's crust. When a volcano erupts, hot rock flies out from under the ground, and melted rock pours out over the ground. Volcanoes under the ocean sometimes make new islands. In 1963, a volcano in the Atlantic Ocean made a new island called Surtsey. There are many different rocks in Earth's crust. They are millions of years old. The rocks are often different colors. In the Painted Desert in Arizona, in the USA, you can see the different rocks. Listen and practice. You can't please everyone. One day, Nasruddin wanted to take his young son into town. "You can ride the donkey," he told his son, "and I'll walk next to you." So Nasruddin's son got on the donkey, and they started down the road into town. A little while later, Nasruddin and his son came across some people on the road. The people looked at the boy on the donkey with disapproval. One person said, "Look at that healthy young boy." Can you believe today's young people? They have no respect for their parents. That boy rides on the donkey, and his poor father has to walk. When the boy heard this, he was very unhappy. He asked his father to ride the donkey instead of him. So Nasruddin got on the donkey, and the boy walked next to him. Soon, they met another group of people on the road. One person said, "Well, look at that. That poor boy has to walk while his father rides the donkey." After the people walked away, Nasruddin told his son to get on the donkey with him. "No one can criticize us now," he said. But soon, they met two old men on the road. The men looked at Nasruddin and his son with disapproval. "That poor donkey looks very tired," one of the men said. Nasruddin stopped the donkey and got off. Then he said to his son, "The best thing is for both of us to walk. Then no one can criticize us." So Nasruddin and his son walked down the road, and the donkey walked behind them. Soon, they met some more people on the road. One person said, "Just look at those fools. Both of them are walking in this hot weather, and no one is riding the donkey. How stupid they are." Nasruddin looked at his son and said, "You can't please everyone. Listen and practice. I have a great job. I study crocodiles. It's an important job. Let me explain why. Here in Australia, we have a lot of crocodiles, but sometimes the crocodiles are sick. I want to know why. I study the food the crocodiles eat. I also learn how fast they grow and where they live. How do I do this? Well, in the morning, I take my camera and I watch the crocodiles in the river. I take photos. Sometimes the crocodiles eat toads. Some toads make them sick and they die. I want to help the crocodiles. Listen and practice. Ice cream flavor expert. Believe it or not, I taste ice cream for my job. Yes, it's a dream job, but it's also difficult. I work at a big ice cream company. Every day, I taste lots of different flavors 3 times each. Why is that? Well, I taste a little of the ice cream we make in the morning, afternoon, and at night. That way, I know that all the ice cream is good. I use my eyes first. Does the ice cream look nice? Then I taste the ice cream with a spoon. Does it taste fresh and sweet? Then I spit it out. Yes, I really spit it out. Listen and practice. A young man in Illinois was having trouble paying his college tuition, so he came up with quite a creative solution. He wrote to a newspaper columnist and asked him to print a request in his column. He wanted the columnist to ask readers to send in 1 penny to help him pay for his college education. Readers of the newspaper thought it was a funny idea, so they sent in their pennies. In the end, the young man collected $28,000. Last summer, I flew from London to Casablanca in Morocco to do some research on the traditional music there. Unfortunately, my bags didn't arrive with the flight. I thought they would probably arrive on the next flight, but they didn't. I had nothing to wear except the clothes I had on. Luckily, the airline gave me some money to buy some extra clothes and things. The bags didn't turn up till 4 days later. I was really glad to get my bags back because I had a lot of important stuff inside them, but I had to wait around until they turned up, so I didn't get a chance to listen to any of the traditional music. That's why I want to get back there again sometime. Listen and practice. A city without oil. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, is a country with a lot of oil. Oil brings the country billions of dollars each year. So why is the UAE building a city that uses very little or no oil? The answer is simple. Oil will not last forever. But there is another resource people can use instead of oil, the sun. In fact, engineers are now building a new city that uses mostly solar energy for its power. The city is called Masdar, and it is about 20 miles, 32 kilometers, from Abu Dhabi, one of the largest cities in the UAE. If it is a success, Masdar will be the first city in the world that uses little or no oil. Listen and practice. Emergency in the air. On April 28, 1988, at 1:25 p.m., Flight 243 left Hilo, Hawaii. It was a 40-minute flight to Honolulu, and the weather was good. The 89 passengers were in their seats with their seatbelts on. At 1:40, the plane reached 24,000 feet, and the 3 flight attendants started serving drinks. Suddenly, at 1:45, there was a loud noise. Mr. Denon, a businessman, was in a window seat in the back of the airplane. He looked at the front of the airplane and saw a big hole. A third of the roof was gone. Mr. Denon said, "I saw blue sky." David Kupahea was in a seat in the front of the airplane. His suitcase was under the seat in front of him. Suddenly, the suitcase flew out of the airplane. Then a piece of metal hit his arm and cut it. The passenger next to him had a large cut on his head. Everything was flying around. Books, paper, money, said passenger Stanford Sampson. When the pilot heard the noise, he looked back. The cockpit door wasn't there, and he saw blue sky above the passengers. The first 18 feet, 5.5 meters, of the airplane behind the cockpit were completely open. Only the floor and the passenger seats were still there. The pilot decided to put the airplane into a fast descent. They were close to the airport on the island of Maui, and maybe he could land the airplane there. At 1:58 p.m., the pilot made an emergency landing at Kahului Airport in Maui. The passengers couldn't believe it. They were safe on the ground. What caused the emergency? It was an old plane. It made many short flights during its life. It took off and landed many times, and this weakened the plane. Listen and practice. Everyday life. Well, I'm pretty busy. I get up early and check my email. I listen to the radio. I don't watch TV on weekdays. Then I study. It's crazy. We get up late, so I eat breakfast in the car. My husband doesn't have breakfast. Well, my wife and I read the newspaper. I have breakfast and my wife has coffee. We're pretty quiet. We don't talk a lot. I try to study, But my brother and sister make a lot of noise. They don't care. My sister watches TV and my brother plays games on the computer. Listen and practice. Party planning. Hi, Adam. Grandpa's birthday is in 2 weeks. I'd like to plan a big birthday party. I'd like to make it special because he is turning 80 years old. I will be very busy planning. Do you want to help me? We can have the party in the park. We can bring tables and chairs. We can also bring balloons to decorate the party. I'd like to invite 28 guests. I have made a list of their names. 5 people can sit at one table, so we need 6 tables. I will order pizza. One pizza has 10 pieces. Each person can have 2 pieces. That means we need 56 pieces. I will order 6 pizzas. I will buy juice. 1 bottle is 1 liter. Each person probably drinks 250 milliliters. That means 1 bottle for 4 people. So I need to buy 7 bottles. David will get our favorite bakery to bake a special birthday cake. We can cut 1 cake into 8 pieces. How many cakes do you think we need? 4 or 5 cakes? Check out the attachments. These are some of my ideas. Email me back. Rita. Listen and practice. Every day, people throw away millions of products like toys, cans, and bottles. Most waste goes to landfills, and sometimes people throw waste in other places like rivers. This is bad for our world. It's good to recycle old products. We can use materials from old products to make new things. We can recycle old products like plastic bottles, metal cans, and clothes at recycling centers. People sort the old products. Then machines use the old products to make recycled materials. We can use these materials to make new products. Listen and practice. Stonehenge. The Stonehenge stone circles are in England. People transported the first stones to this place about 5,000 years ago. We don't know a lot about Stonehenge. Who built it? How did they build it? Why did they build it? It's a mystery. People built Stonehenge with blue stones and sarsen stones. There were about 80 blue stones. They came from mountains 250 kilometers away. They are very heavy. Some weigh about 4 metric tons. The biggest sarsen stone weighs about 45 metric tons. That's like 10 elephants. The sarsen stones are even bigger and heavier. About 4,000 years ago, people transported them from 30 kilometers away. How did people use Stonehenge? Maybe they used it as a cemetery or a place for studying the sun and the stars. Maybe it was also a temple. It's still a special place for some people today. Every year on June 21st, lots of people go to Stonehenge to celebrate the longest day of the year. Listen and practice. Welcome to South America. South America is one of the 7 continents on our planet. It is the 4th largest continent. The Atlantic Ocean is to the east of South America, and the Pacific Ocean is to the west. Most of South America is in the southern hemisphere. Spring and summer are from September to February. Fall and winter are from March to August. The landscape of South America is diverse. Most people know about the Amazon rainforest, but there are also flat grasslands and soft wetlands. There are also many mountains and deserts. The Amazon River is the world's 2nd longest river. It runs through Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador. It is 6,840 kilometers long. The Andes is the longest mountain range in the world. It is located on the west of South America and stretches from north to south. The highest point is Mount Aconcagua in Argentina. It is 6,962 meters high. The Atacama Desert is the second driest place on the planet. It only gets 1 millimeter of rain each year. It is located in northern Chile. Listen and practice. What are the smallest living things on Earth? The answer is cells. Some of the biggest living things, like whales, people, or trees, are made of millions of tiny cells. Microbes are living things that usually have just one cell. Most cells are too small to see, so how do people know that living things are made of cells? No one knew about cells until microscopes were invented. Microscopes magnify tiny things, like cells, to make them look bigger so that people can see them. Listen and practice. In 1665, a British scientist called Robert Hooke made one of the first microscopes. He used it to look at a thin piece of tree bark called cork. He saw that the cork was made of lots of tiny pieces. These were the cork cells. Today, microscopes can magnify things 1,000,000 times. When Robert Hooke saw the pieces inside the cork, he called them cells because they looked like little rooms. Listen and practice. I have to wear a suit and tie to work. After work, I just want to go home and put on jeans and an old sweater, something comfortable. Listen and practice. Well, my boss likes to wear designer clothes, so I need to look good too. I usually wear a nice skirt or dressy pants with a silk blouse and a jacket. Oh, and high heels. Listen and practice. Well, we don't have to wear uniforms at our school, so I like to wear pants, a t-shirt, and sneakers. So, yeah, I'm lucky. My friend has to wear a uniform, and she hates it. Listen and practice. Our solar system, space, is everything that's around planet Earth, and it's bigger than we can imagine. When you look at the sky at night, you can see thousands of stars. Did you know that the sun is a star too? There are also billions of other stars in space and billions of planets. Stars are huge balls of hot gas. A star with planets around it is called a solar system. Our sun has 8 planets. This is our solar system. Groups of stars are called galaxies. Each galaxy has billions of stars. Our solar system is in a galaxy called the Milky Way that has 200 billion stars. There are billions of other galaxies in the universe. Listen and practice. Our amazing sun, the sun and all other stars, are made of 2 gases called hydrogen and helium. The hydrogen changes into helium in a process called nuclear fusion. This process produces heat and light. Our sun is about 150 million kilometers away from Earth, but it's hot enough to burn you at the beach. Plants on Earth use energy from the sun to grow. Animals and people also get their energy from the sun because they eat plants. Listen and practice. Earth and the sun. A planet goes around, or orbits, a star. It takes our planet Earth 1 year to orbit the sun. A planet also turns on its axis. It takes Earth 24 hours to do a complete turn on its axis. When a place on Earth is opposite the sun, it's daytime in that place. Listen and practice. University admissions around the world. What do you need to do to get into a university? Actually, it depends on where you live. Let's look at university admissions in 4 countries: Austria, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the United States. In Austria, getting into a university is very simple. Getting into a university in Austria depends completely on a student's score on a national achievement exam. Subjects on this exam include German, mathematics, and a foreign language. Students who pass this exam can go to a university in Austria. In Turkey, high school students take a national achievement exam in March. If they pass that exam, they take another exam in June. Getting into a Turkish university depends mostly on these exam scores, but universities also consider high school grades. In Turkey, students usually study very hard for the national exam. If they don't pass the exam, they can't go to university. In the United Kingdom, students take achievement exams when they are 16, 17, and 18 years old. Universities consider a student's scores on all of these exams. Students also provide a very short personal statement, a reference letter from one teacher, and information about their extracurricular activities. In the United States, the university admissions system is quite different from those in Austria, Turkey, and the UK. Most universities in the United States consider a student's score on a special aptitude test called the SAT. Unlike an achievement exam, an aptitude test measures a student's ability to learn. It does not measure a student's knowledge of school subjects. Most universities also look at a student's high school grades, an admissions essay, and several reference letters. Extracurricular activities, such as sports, clubs, and volunteer work, are also very important. Students often do many activities in high school so they can get into a good university. Listen and practice. When I went to Hawaii, I spent the first few days in Honolulu. Everything was really expensive there, especially in the restaurants. $4 for a soda. But the beaches were wonderful. The sand was so soft, and the water was so clean. Listen and practice. Sydney is one of my favorite cities in Australia. There are some great buildings there, like the famous Opera House. The only problem is the weather. Spring and fall are okay, but the summer is too hot for me. Listen and practice. One of my favorite cities is New York. There's so much culture there. I spent 2 weeks there last summer, and every day I went to a different museum, play, musical performance, or poetry reading. The only thing I don't like about New York is the traffic noise. You can hear cars driving and honking all night long. Listen and practice. Vancouver is a nice city to visit, but don't go in the winter. It's much too cold. The rest of the year is great, though, and there are plenty of clubs, restaurants, and other places to go at night. Listen and practice. I used to eat out a lot, but I don't eat out much anymore. All the good, inexpensive places near my apartment have moved or gone out of business. Now, there are only really expensive restaurants in my neighborhood. It's really too bad. Listen and practice. In Los Angeles, you have to drive everywhere, and sometimes the traffic is terrible. But that's the only bad part. There are a lot of fun things to see, like Hollywood, Disneyland, museums, and movie studios. Listen and practice. I think Rio de Janeiro is one of the most interesting cities in South America. The nightlife is great. They have great musicians, so there's always good music in the cafes. Crime is a problem, though, so you have to be careful. Listen and practice. My trip to Cancun this summer was great. The thing I liked most was going snorkeling at the beach. The water was crystal clear and full of the most beautiful tropical fish I've ever seen. I'll never forget it. Unfortunately, though, I spent too much time in the sun and I got the worst sunburn of my life. I had to go to the doctor to get a cream for it. Next time I go, I'll use sunscreen every day. Listen and practice. One day, a rich dad took his son on a trip to a village. He wanted to show him how poor someone can be. They spent time on a farm of a poor family. On their return from the trip, the father asked his son, "How was the trip?" "It was great, Dad." "Did you see how poor people live?" the father asked. "Oh, yes," said the son. "So tell me, what did you learn from the trip?" asked the father. The son answered, "We have one dog. They have four. We have a pool. They have rivers. We have lights at night. They have stars. We buy food. They grow theirs. We have walls to protect us. They have friends. We have television. They spend time with family and relatives." The boy's father was speechless. Then his son nodded and said, "Thanks, Dad, for showing me how poor we are." Listen and practice. I went to Mexico City for the first time last summer, and I managed to use my Spanish every day. I still had to look up words a lot, but I was really proud of myself. The only bad experience I had there was when someone stole my purse while I was having lunch in a restaurant. Next time, I'll watch my purse more carefully. Listen and practice. I really enjoyed my visit to London. I wish I could have stayed there for a month instead of just for a week. The thing I really enjoyed most was the British Theatre. I went almost every night and saw some really famous actors. Unfortunately, I didn't realize how expensive London can be. I spent twice as much money as I had planned to. Listen and practice. You wouldn't believe what happened on my vacation to Bangkok. I lost my wallet in the taxi. I thought I would never see it again, but that evening the taxi driver came to my hotel and gave my wallet back to me. I was so relieved. The last day I was there, though, I got food poisoning from some fish I had at a restaurant near my hotel. Next time, I'll eat at a different seafood restaurant. Listen and practice. It used to take me about an hour to get to the airport, but now it takes me more than 2 hours. There's so much traffic here these days. Listen and practice. October 31st is Halloween. Children wear costumes in the evening. They knock on doors and people give them candy. At Halloween, some people buy a pumpkin. They cut holes in the pumpkin to make eyes, a nose, and a mouth. They put a candle in the pumpkin to make a lantern with a scary face. Stores sell Halloween toys like skeletons and spiders. People aren't really scared at Halloween. It's fun. Listen and practice. New Year all around the world. There are big festivals for New Year. People in different countries do different things. In Spain and Portugal, people eat 12 grapes at midnight on December 31st. In Japan, people like laughing at midnight. They say, "Start the year with a laugh, then all the year is happy." In Thailand, people throw water in the streets. They have water all over them, but it's not a problem. The weather in Thailand is always hot at New Year. At New Year, many people watch fireworks. Little children sit on their mother's or father's shoulders so that they can see the fireworks. The fireworks go up and all the people say, "Happy New Year." Listen and practice. The rise of ebooks. An ebook means electronic book. You can use a device called an ebook reader to read ebooks. Ebooks are popular for many reasons. First, they are cheaper. On average, ebooks are about 8% cheaper than paper books. Second, they are faster and easier to buy. You don't have to go to a bookstore. You can pay for and download the books from the internet. Third, you can carry ebooks easily. An e-reader can hold thousands of ebooks and remain thin and light. Finally, an ebook is comfortable to read. You can change the size of the text, and you can also change the brightness of the screen. Listen and practice. So, on Saturday morning, I did chores at home, laundry and stuff. Then I went grocery shopping because there was no food in the house. Sunday morning, I fixed my bike, walked the dog, called my mom, and made lunch. Then I wrote a report for work, cleaned the house, and went to bed. Listen and practice. Wow, what an awesome weekend. I went running in the park on Saturday evening, and I met someone I knew from school 10 years ago. It was so cool. Her name is Marie, and we always hung out together when we were kids. She's married now and has a baby. Listen and practice. I just had the worst weekend ever. It was my best friend Pete's wedding, and my car broke down on the drive. I was on a quiet road, and suddenly there was a bang, then the car just didn't move. I missed the wedding and came home on the back of a truck. Listen and practice. Hey guys! Guess what? I just got back from my first ever parasailing class. It was amazing. I traveled to a town by the ocean and met my instructor. We went high up above the ocean where people jump off the rocks. It was kind of scary, but so exciting. Here's a picture of me. See, that's me. Listen and practice. I had a part-time job in a restaurant. I was a server. I was young, only 16. I remember that on my first day, things were really busy, and I was very nervous. I made a lot of embarrassing mistakes, and my boss wasn't too pleased. Listen and practice. It's my birthday next Wednesday. I'm gonna be 10 years old. In my country, we always eat fairy bread on our birthdays. My mom's gonna make me a huge plate of fairy bread. It's a snack. We make it with bread, butter, and colorful sugar called hundreds and thousands. Listen and practice. I love birthdays. They're a lot of fun. Here in Jamaica, we have an old custom. We like to surprise people on their birthday. Guess what we do? We throw flour at our friends. It's my best friend's birthday tomorrow. I'm gonna go to the store soon. I'm gonna buy a lot of flour to throw at him. Listen and practice. My grandmother is going to be 100 years old in June. She's very excited because she's gonna get a special letter from the Queen. The Queen sends a letter to every person who reaches 100. It's a tradition that makes people very happy. In my country, we celebrate birthdays with a special type of food. Noodles are a sign of long life for us. This year, I'm gonna make some long life noodles for all my friends. We're gonna eat them together and have a great evening. Listen and practice. Facebook is a free social networking site on the internet. It was created by 3 computer science majors at Harvard University. At first, it was limited to students at Harvard, but eventually, it was opened up to the general public. Today, Facebook is used all over the world and by all age groups, although users must be at least 13 years old. Even though Facebook was originally designed for university-age students, the fastest-growing Facebook age group is between the ages of 30 and 50. Listen and practice. My name is Melissa, and I was born in 1984 in Canada, but I didn't grow up there. My family moved to the United States in 1980, so I really grew up here in America. I went to school and college here, and I became a tour guide in 2004. I give tours to Canada. Listen and practice. I'm Colin. I grew up here in the UK and I still live here now, but I wasn't born here. I was born in South Africa in 2000. My parents moved to the UK in 2002, so I went with them, of course. I'm a student, and I'm going to be a doctor someday. Ice cream. About 2,000 years ago, the ancient Romans brought ice and snow from the mountains and mixed it with fruit and honey. About 1,500 years ago, people in China made desserts with ice and milk. The soft ice cream that we eat today was probably invented in Europe about 400 years ago. Fruit ices were popular in Europe then. People started to add cream. They put the cream in a metal bowl with sugar. Then they froze it in a bucket of ice. This was hard work because they had to keep mixing the cream by hand. In 1843, an American woman named Nancy Johnson invented an ice cream machine. 7 years later, the first ice cream factory opened in Baltimore in the USA. Listen and practice. What are ecosystems? There are millions of living things on Earth, from the smallest plants to enormous whales. These plants and animals live in different places, like oceans, rainforests, and deserts. These different places, and all the things that live in them, are called ecosystems. In an ecosystem, there are living things, like plants and animals, and things that are not living, like rocks, water, and air. Together, these things make an ecosystem. The different parts of an ecosystem work together and use each other. For example, in a garden ecosystem, plants use the land, water, light, and air to live. Bees visit plants to drink nectar from their flowers. When bees do this, they also take pollen from one plant to another. Pollen helps flowers to make seeds that can become new plants. Listen and practice. Potato chips. In 1853, George Crumb was a cook in a restaurant in Saratoga Springs, New York. One day, a customer said he didn't like George's French fries. He said they were too thick. So George played a joke on the customer. He made some French fries that were very thin, like paper. The customer loved them. Soon, all of George's customers wanted thin French fries. George called them Saratoga chips. In 1860, George opened a new restaurant, and his thin chips became famous all over the USA. Today, potato chips are one of the most popular snacks in the world. In the United Kingdom, French fries are called chips, and potato chips are called crisps. Listen and practice. Do you see clouds in the sky where you live? Some clouds are gray, and some clouds are white. Gray clouds have many raindrops. White clouds don't have many raindrops. When it's cloudy, big clouds stop some light from the sun coming to Earth. Cumulonimbus clouds are very, very big. When you see this type of cloud, get your umbrella. Cumulonimbus clouds have lots and lots of raindrops, and they make very big storms. Cumulonimbus clouds can make lightning. Lightning is very, very hot.